It is Wednesday, my dudes, which means it's time for another First Thoughts and Initial Impressions Epic 7 video. This one will be on Disciplinary Prefect Aria, the newest Moonlight 5-star that was just shown earlier this morning over on YouTube. As with all my First Thoughts and Initial Impressions videos, I'll give you my 2 cents on the character. Do I think Aria is good? Where would I play her? What types of equipment sets and artifacts would I play her on? All those things you've come to expect from me in a First Thoughts and Initial Impressions video. As an aside, Robin was also shown earlier this morning, and I've already done an impressions video for her. You can check it out by using the link down in this video's description. Anyways, without any further ado, let's take a look at Aria's S3 animation.
Violations of conduct will not be tolerated. Somebody's in need of a thrashing. One who perpetuates disorder shall face my iron fist! Time better spent elsewhere.
So this might be my new favorite skill 3 animation in the entire game. And I don't think that should come as a surprise or be a shock to anybody who's a longtime viewer of my channel. The only thing that I really like more than sword girls like Sermia is the brawler type girls. So just the punch animation is just so satisfying. It's so cool looking. Even when we saw the concept for this skill, just 10 out of 10. Absolutely love it. And I think part of the reason why I love it so much is actually the delivery of the voice lines, and that is in the English dub, of course, done by the fantastic Susie Young. To say that Susie Young is one of the biggest upcomers right now in voice acting, I feel like is just a general understatement. Aside from Alex Lee, I don't think anyone has had a bigger tear on the scene than Susie Young in the last like 4 years or so. You may know her as Vic Chun and Kana's girlfriend Makima from Chainsaw Man, Yuffie Kisaragi from my favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VII. She is also my main from Marvel Rivals, Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, and from having talked to her in person, she is acutely aware of who Aria is in Epic 7 and knows how popular the character is. Moving on to Disciplinary Prefect Aria's stats, she is a Dark Warrior of the Capricorn Zodiac symbol, which means she shares a stat line with Dark Corvus, Ken, Ravi, Mediator Kowarik, and of course, everyone's favorite rat, Shu. Taking a closer look at her stats, she has 966 attack, 657 defense, 7,323 health, 102 base speed, 15% critical hit chance, 150% critical hit damage, and no starting effectiveness or effect resistance. So, if you can't tell by looking at the stat line, to quote my boy Fantano, damn boy, is she thick. To put it another way, this is like the third tankiest stat line in the entire game, right? Like, if there was like a council of like thick girls in Epic 7, Arunka would be the president, Empyrean Ilinab would be the vice president, and then Disciplinary Prefect Aria would be the Speaker of the House. She is literally third in line for succession for the throne of just thickest characters in the game. And of course, I'm talking about her tank stats, not her actual physical appearance, because let's be honest, there is a good chunk of you watching this that are going to pull this character regardless of what I say in this impressions video, because I mean, just look at her. Anyways, imprints. Effect resistance for the team, very, very good. We'll talk about why that is later on in the actual analysis of this video. And then health percentage as her self-imprint, also very good. Like, pretty much the 2 best things you could possibly ask for as her imprint is what she has here. As always, before we analyze the character, let's break down their kit so that way we're all on the same page. Starting with the skill 2 passive, Unwavering Execution. Increases the soul burn consumption of the enemy by 100%. Put in layman's terms, if an enemy's soul burn would cost 10 souls, this passive makes it cost 20 souls. If an enemy's soul burn would cost 20 souls, this passive makes it cost 40 souls. At the start of the first battle, increases Aria's effect resistance proportional to her max health. When Aria is not inflicted with a debuff, increases the effect resistance of all allies by 25 to 40% depending on skill level. Moving on to the skill 3, it's Purge. You acquire 2 souls upon use and has a 3 to 4 turn cooldown depending on skill level. Attacks the enemy with a merciless Iron Fist, granting a barrier to all allies for 2 turns before increasing defense penetration of the skill by 35%. Penetration increase can stack up to 2 times, meaning up to 70% penetration rate. A successful attack always results in a critical hit. Damage dealt and barrier strength increase proportional to the caster's max health. Soul Burn effect for the cost of 10 souls increases the damage dealt and decreases skill cooldowns by 1 turn. And finally, Aria's basic attack skill is Disciplinary Warning. Attacks the enemy, increases the combat readiness of Aria by 15%. When Purge, which is her skill 3, is on cooldown, activates Disciplinary action as an extra attack. Damage dealt increases proportional to Aria's max health. Disciplinary action attacks the enemy, inflicting up to 10% injuries. A successful attack always results in a critical hit. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's max health. Now that you know the kit, let's talk about the character. Do you like turn 2? Do you like stacking hilarious amounts of effect resistance on your team so that way your opponent's skills do absolutely nothing? Do you like huge tracts of land? If the answer is yes to any and all of these, then you should probably pull for Disciplinary Prefect Aria. Aria is basically the dark version of one of my favorite characters to play in Epic 7, Bellion. If you're a veteran, that should tell you already what you need to know about how good I think this character is when it comes to the current metagame. While Bellion completely shuts down souls entirely, Aria has a much better design in that she drastically hampers the strategy without completely nuking it from orbit. It's just way healthier for the game, even if it is technically a worse passive. The rest of the passive, though, is crazy. The second line of text increases Aria's effect resistance proportional to her max health, which is something we're going to have to see the numbers on, but in practice is probably going to be actually insane. And the reason why that is because of the third line of text, which may not seem like much to newer players, or those of you who haven't experienced high-ranked PvP yet. Increasing the team's effect resistance by 40% when she doesn't have a debuff is good. Very good. If you recall from the stats section, we talked about how the team imprint is effect resistance for the team. This means that Aria gives 54% effect resistance to your team upon entering the battle, and even more to herself based on her health. I should add as an aside, Aria's base health is actually massive. She is just 9 HP behind the highest HP total in the game, meaning you could easily build this character with over 35,000 health if you decide to just go triple health percentage right side pieces. Smilegate really looked at base Aria's design and said, what if we made her actually as thick as she appears for her ML version? Back to the effect resistance though. 54%. Big deal. Why? Because most tanks and supports that you play on teams that want effect resistance also have effect resistance as their team imprint. This includes Fallen Cecilia, Empyrean Ilnav, and of course the girl I alluded to at the beginning, Bellion herself. That means if you just want to play a squad of absolute thickness, consisting of characters like Bossa Runka, Fallen Cecilia, Empyrean Ilnav, and this Aria, nothing is ever getting debuffed outside of a Soul Burn. Those 3 characters, by the way, Arunca, Cecilia, and Ilnav, they form the backbone of perhaps the most broken PvP team currently in the game. Aria just slots in there super nicely as an alternative to Bellion, and she answers different problems than her gamer chair sister. Aria's skill 3 Purge might not seem like much, especially if you watch the mock battle video, but I still think it's pretty good. 35% defense penetration is not great by today's standards, especially if you're fighting Ilnav, but it does ramp up into an impressive 70%. On top of that, your team does get a barrier when you use it, which synergizes with the rest of the types of characters that Aria commonly wants to be paired with. This skill 3 is also a 3-turn cooldown, meaning it is highly spammable, and if you soul burn it, it's only 2 turns. A team-wide barrier that is a 2-turn cooldown is kinda gross, especially since it's got a single target nuke staple to it. All of this, and I didn't even mention how the skill always crits if you don't miss, meaning the character needs 0% critical hit chance. Having the second highest HP total in the game as a DPS that doesn't need to invest in 2 stats at all is certainly a design choice. Finally, her basic skill, Disciplinary Warning. This helps her with turn cycling due to the 15% combat range staple to it, making it a huge telegraph that you should probably be playing her on the counter set. If her skill 3 is on cooldown, she also gets an additional extra attack that results in a critical hit if it connects and has built-in injury. Because, you know, in case you're fighting against that Empyrean Illinav that makes your S3 terrible, you can just injury her down. Because bruisers need anti-bruiser technology in 2025. That's power creep, baby. Notably, the basic skill doesn't actually guarantee a crit. It's only the extra attack, but I'll be honest, the character I don't think needs it. I think she'll be plenty fine without it. As for how we build this character, I think counter seems like a no-brainer because of the fact that you're going to be stacking a lot of HP on her, as she doesn't really have a great base speed, and she has 15% combat readiness on her basic attack skill. I should also add that when you counter, it does trigger the extra attack, so that's just free injury. If all you care about is just doing as much damage as possible on the skill 3, well, then Destruction is probably going to be your next best choice. And finally, I would be remiss to not talk about Protection Set as a suitable option for the character, considering how absolutely massive Aria is. As for offsets, I think health and resist are going to be the two obvious ones as they synergize best with her passive. Immunity might still be on the table versus an enemy who is crazy enough to just stack a billion books against you to use a soul burn that ignores ER, but I really doubt it. I also want to take a second to talk about the right side pieces on Aria, as it might not be as straightforward as some of you are thinking. The necklace most likely will be critical hit damage, but based on the ratios on Aria's passive, health percentage with a bunch of crit damage substats may end up being a more efficient choice. The ring is the most clear-cut option at health percentage because this gives you both effect resistance as well as damage at the same time. For the boots, I would strongly recommend trying out health percentage as the main stat with speed as a substat to offset the fact that you are no longer playing main stat speed boots. Speed boots are great, but you'll have a much harder time having this character become turbo thick without the 65% health boost that the main stat affords you. This is the trick to making characters like Empyrean Illinav and Bellion successful in the current meta, and I suspect that will be the case here with Aria. As for artifacts, there are several that jump out to me. Thorn of the Blue Rose gives you souls at the start, along with a damage amp in case you just want to spam the hell out of her skill 3. Lethe's artifact, Prayer of Solitude, stacks on even more fat to Aria while increasing her overall damage. Golden Rose for the good old reliable sustain, especially if you're on counter set. Strack Gauntlet or Bastion of Hope if you just want to be absolutely sure that you cannot be debuffed. And I also really like Warhorn on her just because of her short cooldowns, and traditionally heroes with her stat line synergize very well with it. The safest bets are probably going to be Prayer of Solitude for Destruction set and Golden Rose for the counter set builds. Overall, Aria is a must-pull, I feel like, for any turn 2 player who is serious about World Arena. She just slots in perfectly into what is arguably the strongest team in the game right now, at least by the numbers. Her Arena and Guild War applications might feel a little lacking, and I don't see too much value for her for PvE players either. Fast players might also want to steer clear of her because they might not get a lot of value. Finally, I'd be remiss to not talk about the fact that Genesis Roz is probably the next Moonlight 5-star character, so you might want to skip her just to save for that character. Regardless of what I say though here in this video, I still feel like everyone is going to pull for her because she has a humongous rack and jiggle physics. And those are my thoughts on Aria. But now it's time I hear from you. Let me know how you feel about the character down in the comment section below, and make sure you check out my Robin impressions video, which is also linked in this video's description. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later now.